It was such a simple act, wearing a face mask in order to protect others. Sadly, the wearing of a face mask became a political statement, a facial bumper sticker of sorts. Such a simple, easy way to protect others. The refusal to do this simple act ended up causing great harm. I wonder, if the prophet had commanded you to do something difficult, would you not have done it? How much more when all he said to you was, wear a mask? Every day, these simple choices are before us. West Whiteland Township has now made recycling easier than ever. You don't need to sort paper and plastic, but still, studies tell us that our landfills continue to overflow. Rather than taking the time to bring bags to the grocery store, we consume more and more plastic, polluting our environment and failing to care for God's creation. When we return back to in-person worship, I hope we will continue to use online bulletins rather than paper ones. I recognize that I'm meddling, so I pray Pastor Gary and the youth leaders will forgive me. See, Diana asked me to talk about how my generation encounters God, and I tell you, we watch and we listen. We care about creation because we believe climate change is real, and that the next wars will be fought over water rights. I wonder, if the prophet had commanded you to do something difficult, would you not have done it? How much more when all he said to you was recycle and start composting? Such simple acts. I remember when Deacon Marilyn Schneider asked us to write a card to inmates in prison at Christmas. At first I wondered why a card would matter. But then I thought about being in prison, perhaps without family or friends, and receiving a handwritten note, a reminder that I was not forgotten, not alone. Here at Grove, you are invited to do simple acts that transform lives. I wonder, if a prophet commanded you to do something difficult, would you not have done it? How much more when all he said to you was, make a casserole, write a card. You see, we know from our Old Testament readings that Naaman is described as a decorated military general. He is a man of great power, wealth, and influence. But then, Naaman's life is turned upside down. He finds that he has the most dreaded and feared skin disease, leprosy. Remember how people treated lepers of the time? People would not come within 6 feet of you. It sounds like living in a never-ending COVID reality. And this is the military general, a great leader. You can imagine, Naaman is ready to go to any lengths to cure his disease. He would be ready to fight an army or climb up a great mountain. Naaman travels to the prophet's house carrying caravans of silver, gold, and regal garments. He is ready to bargain for his healing. But when the great general arrives, he is not met by the prophet, and is instead met outside by a child, a Jew, a slave, a girl, who offers him the path to healing. She tells him to go and dip himself in the muddy creek, the Jordan River. Naaman is so upset to be greeted by just a child. What is a child? What does a youth have to teach an adult? Why wasn't the great Naaman greeted by the great prophet? And doesn't healing involve some great act? Isn't following God about great things, big things? How can it be so simple, wearing a mask, starting a compost pile, preparing a casserole? Surely, God expects something bigger, better, set in lights with more fame and more glory. Naaman wants a miracle that dazzles himself and others. Naaman, the great general, stands in front of a child who tells him to go take a bath. He has a choice to make. He can wait for the fireworks, or he can go to the river, he can take off his armor, and he can splash around like a child, again, and again, and again, and again. I always laugh when I think of him having to take a bath over and over again. God knows that in order for something to become part of our lives, we need to do it faithfully, again and again and again. Like Naaman, sometimes in our own discipleship, we wait for the extraordinary without realizing that God is calling us to do ordinary, everyday acts. God is calling us to wear a mask, to protect our neighbor. God is calling us to take care of the earth. God is calling us to serve others. Simple, everyday acts that lead to healing for ourselves and others. We sometimes want the glory, the fireworks, the dazzling miracles, but we forget that Jesus showed up not in the Hilton, but in the stable. Jesus' acts were simple, everyday acts of service, using ordinary, simple items to convey the grace of God. Bread, water, and wine. Jesus washed feet. Jesus went to Five Guys with those picked last for the team. Jesus spoke words of forgiveness to all people. So, Grove family, this morning, like Naaman, we are called to do simple, everyday acts of faith. If the prophet had commanded you to do something difficult, would you not have done it? How much more when all he said to you was, go forth to follow Jesus this day and always. Thanks be to God. Amen.